So welcome to today, Cloverleaf. Stop guessing. Start managing up with Cloverleaf. So we're going to jump right in to today. We're going to do a quick poll to let us know who you are. We're going to talk about managing up a little bit. And also today is going to be interactive. You're going to be using Cloverleaf. So if you're not logged into Cloverleaf, you want to log in. So that's just a heads up. I would log into Cloverleaf now. I'll let you know the features to watch that we're going to be kind of diving into. We're going to we'll dive into managing up in Discover. You're going to consider a coaching focus for long-term success with managing up. Okay. And we'll also leverage the feedback feature to support managing up. And then I'm going to challenge you to take some actions after this webinar to make this webinar real for you. This is really a webinar that is going to really train you to use Cloverleaf in some certain areas with managing up, but also you'll be able to now recall some of the things I'm going to be teaching you to share with other people, colleagues, team members, and you'll also gain some insight for yourself, maybe about a situation that will provide value for you. And then I'll ask you for some feedback. You can ask questions. By the way, if you have questions, pop them in the chat. That's what Jason is here for. So he's playing his live support role today for the entirety of the webinar. So he will answer your questions in the chat. And then if we can't get to your answer, if we can't answer what you're asking, we'll get the answer for you and get back to you. And then we'll also let you know about our August webinars. We'll let you know those dates. We're going to be doing role-based webinars. We split up every other month. We do talent leaders and coaches, and then also managers and individual contributors. So we'll let you know those dates coming up in August. Okay, so first we want to know who's here, who's with us today. So Jason's going to put a poll up on the screen. So let us know the title that best describes you. Are you a senior or C-suite talent learning leader? Are you a director or manager level talent and learning leader? Are you a manager of a team? Are you an individual contributor, or you are a coach or consultant? Are you one of our partners? So let us know the role that best describes you. So if you could, on the screen, just click and answer that poll, that would be great. Okay.
All right.
All right. A few more people. We could pull that out. All righty. All right. Okay, I think we could end that poll. We could share those results. All right, so we have kind of a tie between director and manager level talent leaders and individual contributors who are here with us today, with manager of a team coming in at a close second. All right. Thank you so much. All right, we'll move right on. You could stop sharing that and we'll move right on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about managing up. So by the way, if you're following along in the resource, it's right here. So again, we'll be using this today. This has more information in it than is on the slides. So this is all you need today. Everything that's on the slides is in here. You have even more information. So if you're following along here, this is kind of what we're going to be using. So managing up really should not be a guessing game. Sometimes, and especially if you're in a virtual or hybrid environment, you may not always be with your manager, the person that you report to. You may not always be with that person physically. And sometimes it's kind of hard to anticipate different emotions, behaviors, work styles. it's not just about you knowing your own tendencies, but you also have to know that specific person. How do they communicate? How do they like to be communicated with? How do they make decisions? How do you give them feedback? Do you feel comfortable giving them feedback? And so many more things. Right. And so Cloverleaf, a lot of this behavioral data is visible to you every day at your fingertips. Some of you are utilizing just a fraction of it just because you're maybe using the emails. And we want to make sure that you're really taking advantage of many of the features in Cloverleaf and that you're empowering other people to do that too. So if you're a learning talent or learning leader, or as a manager, you're also, you have a manager, but also you want to empower your direct reports also to solicit feedback from you, to also give you feedback. The best leaders invite their teams to offer feedback to them, and then they encourage them to actually manage up. Okay. Great leaders are not afraid to receive feedback from their team members. They welcome it. They want to grow. They want to get better. So as we work together today, I want you to think of a specific manager in mind, and that will make today valuable for you and actionable for you. Okay. You're going to get to see today how to actually use Cloverleaf with somebody specific in mind. So make sure if you're not already logged into Cloverleaf, especially if you just hopped on, that you're logged into Cloverleaf, right? So these are the features that we're going to use today. So we're going to use Discover, okay? You're going to use Discover so that you can get some coaching grounded in some behavioral baseline related to somebody specific, okay? So this is actually going to guide you. If you're someone who uses Discover, often you know that this can help you prepare for actual conversations with people that you work with every day. And it's not generic, okay? It's designed to actually answer specific questions, like if I'm going to give feedback to this person, how should I approach that? Okay. We're also going to delve into coaching focus. So if you've not been using the new coaching focus, this is about how can I actually improve a relationship, rapport, communication with a manager, build trust over time. Okay. And Cloverleaf is then going to deliver you coaching tips to actually fulfill on that goal, so that it's not just using Discover for that one conversation. You're going to get coaching over time so that you can actually look at how to improve that relationship and maybe coach up, manage up over time. And then you'll use feedback for how to actually get some specific feedback, or how to actually really get some great interaction with your manager or with a manager, and also how to then provide it in a way that they can hear it, okay, in a way that it can actually land, right? So again, sometimes we go to trainings that are skill-based, but that are broad, okay? And in Cloverleaf, this is where we get personal and contextual, because it's the behavioral data related to the specific people that you work with, right? Okay, so I want everybody to think of one manager conversation that you need to have that matters. Now, this may be with your manager. Now, if you can't think of maybe you don't have a conversation with a manager right now that matters. But since we are talking about managing up, clearly there was something about this topic that attracted you to be here. So most likely you have a conversation with a manager that you have to have. So I want you to think of one conversation with a manager that has been mattering to you, and maybe you haven't had it. Now, I'll give you some ideas, right? So choose a real conversation that you might need to have with a manager in the next few weeks. Okay. Now, if you absolutely can't think of one to have with a manager, you could use somebody else for this exercise. Okay. But remember, we have Cloverleaf up and running. Okay, so these are some examples. Maybe it's a one-on-one conversation coming up and you need more clarity on something. So I'm going to help jog your ideas, jog your memory. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have about priorities. Maybe you have a lot of things on your plate right now and you need to understand what you should be focusing on. Maybe it's a feedback discussion. Maybe you need to give feedback. Maybe you need to ask for feedback on something, right? Maybe it's a performance check-in. Maybe you need to ask, about your performance on a project, on a goal you set. Maybe you have, a goal that you've been working on, and you need to check in about that performance goal. Maybe it's a conversation about a topic where the trust feels a little shaky, or you have to build back that trust. Maybe it's about a situation or a conflict or a person on your team who you've been experiencing friction with. I'm just trying to think of, a lot of different things that it could be about, right? So think about, again, a real conversation you need to have in the next few weeks, or it's imminent, with a manager, right? Your manager, right? Or a manager you work with, right? Maybe it's a manager you collaborate with. Maybe it's a manager who's a peer. Maybe you're a manager and it's a peer manager, right? So just think about that. It's something that you need to have. Maybe it's a little bit of a challenging conversation. So now think to yourself, okay, what makes this conversation really hard, right? Again, choose that conversation, and maybe you're not sure, how direct should I be? I got all these thoughts. How direct can I actually be? Maybe you don't know, how do they actually prefer feedback? I kind of have an instinct. If it's maybe a peer manager that you don't work with all the time and you're not sure how they prefer feedback, maybe you're worried they're going to misread this. Maybe they are a type of person that sometimes misinterprets things. We all know these people. Sometimes we're related to them, but maybe that there's people that tend to misinterpret or misread intent, right? They take things too personally. They take things as an attack, right? We all know these people. Okay. They move faster than you do. Okay. They tend to jump ahead. They need more detail than you naturally give. We all know the 20 questions people. Can you give me an example? What do you mean by that? Are you talking about something specific? We know, like, the Inquisition people, right? They're going to ask us 27 questions, and we know we're going to have to walk in with notes, okay? They make decisions differently than you do. Maybe they have just a different way of decision making, and that way is different in whatever way it is. There's something about approaching this conversation that is going to be difficult, okay? There's people in your life, whether it's work or personal, that you love to talk to, that don't make conversations hard, that you're like, oh, I know they're going to be great listeners. But this person, maybe this conversation is going to be challenging for whatever reason. Maybe pressure changes how they show up, right? If it's a challenging conversation, there's something that shifts how they show up. You can talk to them about X or Y, but this topic may shift. You're concerned it's going to shift how they show up. So think about what makes it hard, okay? Or maybe you tend to hold back with this person. We still live in this world of hierarchy where, oh, they're my manager. I can't give them feedback, right? I have to act a certain way. It's like going to the principal's office, right? So you tend to hold back because you have a very traditional organization where that's what we do with our managers, okay? Or maybe it's something else. So I'd like you to share in the chat, and it could be something that's on the screen, or it could be something else. What usually makes the conversation in question? Remember, you've identified the conversation in your mind. You don't have to tell me what the conversation is. In the chat, I'd like you to pop it in. What makes the conversation hard to have? The conversation in question. Pop it in the chat. What makes this conversation hard? I'd like to hear from as many people as possible. Just pop it in the chat. We don't know who you're talking about. We don't know what the conversation's about, but I want people to start to see what people are dealing with and see the similarities. Okay, good. How direct it will be. I'm afraid they'll misread my intent. Okay, good. Just share what's the obstacle? Not knowing how they'll react. Okay. What else? How many details to include? Not sure how to say what I mean, right? What if I don't have the words? Okay, good. Thank you so much, Crystal, sharing a different one. I don't know how to say what I mean. Pressure changes how they show up, that I'll damage the relationship. Thank you, Allison, right? Unwillingness for the other person to participate in the conversation. Thank you. Travis shared another one that I didn't have on the screen. Like, what if they shut down? They don't want to say anything, right? I may come across as a know-it-all. Julio, thank you. So another great one. I may come across as a know-it-all. I don't want to sound like that. Okay. Someone's already made up their mind on the outcome, not open to other suggestions. Excellent. Grace is sharing something very important. This is what we call a fixed mindset, right? They already have their mind made up. They're closed to all suggestions. Person is easily defensive and strikes out, right? Julia already kind of has probably experienced this. The person comes across defensive, getting run over in the conversation. Okay. So we already know maybe the person's going to get bulldozed over, right? And I'm not able to explain myself effectively. So many of us, we know who this person is. We know we might not be able to get our point across. And we have this experience of this person. Okay. And it's valid. I want everyone to be clear here. Your experiences are valid, right? And sometimes if we've had these past experiences, we get like locked, and I can't go back in there because of what happened last time. Okay. And so we can be sort of held back because of what had happened. So using Cloverleaf can help us to say, let me try something different, because I don't want to do what I did last time. I don't want to come off as a know-it-all. I don't want to get run over. I don't want to not be able to say what I mean. I don't want the person to take things personally and have them strike back at me, right? So let me try to do something different, okay? So here's what we're going to do. Oh, sorry, I have the same slide here twice. Okay, so what do I really need to understand about this manager? Think to yourself, do I need to understand how they communicate differently? Do I need to understand their decision-making process? Do I need to understand how to build trust with them? Do I need to understand how to give them feedback based upon the topic that you need to talk about with them? Do I need to understand how they respond under pressure? What do you need to understand more? So think about that for yourself. What do you need to understand more about this manager? So now, what I want you to do is open up Discover. So you're going to be on this screen right here in Cloverleaf. So this is a dummy account. These are not real people. So you're going to open up Discover here and be in this box. Now, I want to just remind you, your searches stay private and they don't train AI models. This is what's really important. So nobody's going to see that you search this, and they don't train AI models. And I want to help you understand something about why Cloverleaf is not like ChatGPT. So, or Claude or Gemini. So when you go into these LLMs, right, and you go and give them information, you are giving them what's called disparate facts. Like if you go, like many people go into ChatGPT and they tell it their problems, except they don't go back and tell it what they resolved. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm 50 years old. I was recently like putting something into chat and it said, well, since you're 48 and you have surgery coming up. And I was like, what? Okay, first of all, the last time I told chat how old I was, it was 2 years ago. I never told it, oh, I had a birthday and I had another birthday and I had a minor surgery last year. Chat does not remember the whole Chat does not have the whole picture of everything. It only captures disparate facts. So it does not have a full memory of what actually happened. So when people say, why can't I just use ChatGPT? No, this has actual behavioral data of the people that you work with. When you put your problems into ChatGPT, it is random disparate facts about you. It is not behavioral data, okay? Which is a lot different than random disparate facts, okay? I didn't come in and tell it, by the way, I became 50 years old. Now, I don't mind that it didn't remember that I turned 50, but okay. So I need you to understand the difference because people will not understand the difference sometimes. So it's not training the model. It's not remembering that you put this in here because that creates a bias. It's not putting in here. If you go in here and complain about your manager, it's not remembering that you did that. So I want just you to be clear about that and the difference between typing in here and typing into ChatGPT. Okay. So I'm going to go back to this slide and I want you to think about what you need to talk about with this person, what you talked about in terms of what's holding you back. Okay. Some of you shared it in the chat. And look at these prompts. They're also in your resource, by the way. All of the prompts are in your resource. Okay. So pick the prompt that makes the most sense for you. Or if there's not a prompt here that fits for you, you can make up your own prompt. So these are some of the prompts I created. How should I approach this conversation with Sue? So when I say this conversation, you could put, how should I approach a conversation about missing deadlines or needing more support with Sue? Okay. So I said this conversation because I don't know what your conversation is about. So you could put in time in where it says this conversation, you could put what the conversation is about. What is most important to manager name in a one-on-one? How is manager name likely to prefer receiving concerns or pushback? Okay, this is a good one. What's the best way to communicate a disagreement with my manager name? What should I keep in mind before giving manager name feedback, right? Maybe you have to give your manager feedback. This is a good question. What should I keep in mind before giving Sue feedback? How might Sarah respond under pressure in a conversation about her missing a deadline? Right? So this conversation, remember, you could put in place of this conversation, you could put what the conversation's about. What is most likely to build trust with Jose? Where could friction show up between myself and Aaron? Okay. How can I be clear without coming across the wrong way when interacting with Sarah? So like Julio, you mentioned, I don't want to come across as a know-it-all. You could put this in here. How can I be clear without coming across as a know-it-all when interacting with Sarah, right? What would help this conversation with Sarah about needing more support go better for both of us? Okay. So whatever you need to customize to these prompts that I've given you, or if you want to use a different prompt, I want you to put it in. Okay. So I'm going to put in here, what is the best way to communicate a disagreement? So I'm going to go here. Now this is not real, right? So these are not real people. What is the best way to communicate a disagreement with Tariq? All right, so I'm going to put that in here. And after it knows that Tariq is on your team, so it knows the person's on your team. Okay, it's going to give you some feedback here. And then I want you to click apply this. Okay, and then I want you to read what it says to do. I want you to read the feedback. So it says you tend to, this is not really me, but this is Avery. Avery tends to use humor and warmth to ease objections, soften disagreement with a friendly personal tone. Tariq values open, honest conversations and can take criticism personally, connecting feedback closely with a personal effort and care. Bringing a calm, genuine approach helps Tariq stay open and makes it less likely a disagreement will feel like a personal judgment. So it's telling me to start the conversation with warmth and lightness to show that I value the relationship alongside with my viewpoint, to name areas of uncertainty of my intention up front so that Tariq can trust there is room to clarify and discuss, and to encourage Tariq to share their own view openly and focus on shared understanding, not just resolving the issue. So, for example, instead of saying, Tariq, what the heck happened here? I might say, Tariq, I'd like to share something with you, and I'd also like to hear your perspective as well. Right? So I let Tariq know right away that I'm interested in him sharing his perspective also. Okay. So I want you to basically put the prompt into Discover, click on apply this, and after you read what it says, and after you read through apply this, given the obstacle that you shared and your concern you shared about this person, I want you to share in the chat an insight you have from what Discover shared. Don't tell me what Discover said. I want to know what you now see differently. Maybe you see, oh, I realize I could do this instead of that. Or I realize I've been communicating, maybe a little bit differently. I should be doing this instead of that. Or I realize I've been approaching this person in a way that maybe could be triggering them, right? So what's the insight for you? What's the learning for you from what Discover is telling you from the prompt? So pop it in the chat. What are you seeing now based upon what you put in there? Jason, do you know the answer to that? Is there a character limit on the Discover entry? I don't know the answer to that. You're
I
muted, Jason.
was I was just looking that question up. I haven't found a limit, but if I do, I'll update in the chat. But I don't think, as long as you're not like too wordy, you can post like a paragraph into the prompt or a couple paragraphs max. But let me see if I can get you an
Yeah,
answer.
just ask them in the product channel, see if someone will answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so from what prompts you used in Discover, I'd like a few people to share in the chat. What are you noticing? What's your insight from what it shared after you clicked apply this? And you from what it shared, the feedback and the apply this suggestions. What are you noticing? What's your insight? So David, what's your perspective on that? Do you think that's something worth trying? Yes, absolutely. Good. Right. So your manager will appreciate you being more. Yes, it is scary to be more direct and clear, right? So your manager might prefer to be more direct versus the chit chat, right? So some people prefer you to go get right to it, right? What else? Some people more share in the chat. What are you noticing from what Discover's telling you? Because remember, it's based on their inputs. It's giving you their behavioral inputs. What are you noticing? Okay, good. Excellent. So Travis shared, my apply this encouraged me not only on what to do, but how to approach the tone of my delivery. Excellent. So, the apply this is not going to give you a script. It is going to talk to you more about approach and tone, because in communication, it's not just about the words, it is about the tone, right? So, yes. So yeah, so I just want to clarify. I'm asking you all about what your perspective is on what Discover is giving you, right? So Christy, share with me what's your insight based upon what are you learning from what Discover is telling you, right? So what's your perspective? Like, what are you seeing now that you see what the Discover has told you about direct but caring communication? What do you see now? about the communication with that person. Okay, good. So Travis is sharing out. So Travis has different people on his team that prefer different ways of communication. Okay, good. So I want to hear more in your own words. I don't want to know what the platform is saying. I want to hear from people. What are you seeing? What are you learning from what you're seeing? What will you do differently? Oh, I'm seeing now I should probably do this. Like Travis is saying, hey, there's different people on my team that want different things. So I might have to do things differently. So George is saying, yeah, if I spend time listening to their viewpoints prior to speaking, right, the meeting will flow much better. Okay, good. So I might have to listen first before I share what I need to say. Okay, good. Deborah said, if I'm discovering that I tend to only communicate using the approach I prefer, not what others need or respond to. So Deborah is sharing the key to all of life. Most of us are doing the approach that we prefer. Okay. Except most of us are not everybody else. So, Deborah, you are sharing the life's greatest secret. So, most of us do what we think we would want, except we are not everybody. Everybody's different, right? So, we have to, that's what Cloverleaf is here for. Cloverleaf is to help you understand that the other person is not you. They're another human, a no, totally other human. And so this is going to help you understand how do you approach somebody else who's not you, who doesn't have your exact DNA. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Deborah, so much for sharing that. It's so important. Angelica shared, it's helping me to learn them better, to know how to approach conversations with them. The way I would want an approach isn't what works for them. Excellent. Angelica, the same thing. What works for us may not work for them, right? Now, it's like, I love pizza. I cannot understand why another human being would not love pizza, but there are actually humans that don't like pizza. I don't get it, but there are people walking around who don't like it. So I have to understand and embrace that that's a reality, right? So, David said it looks to be, David has discovered the discover character limit is 120 characters, unless you paste it in from somewhere else. Wow, look at that. So if you paste it in, it'll go longer. All right. So can you, Jason, take a note of that and let product know?
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for doing that, David. I've got
Right.
chat going with our product team now, so I'll let them
Okay.
know.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Yes. So excellent. No. You're fine, David. Thank you. Um, okay. So this is so important. I want everybody to understand that part of the value of Cloverleaf is getting us out of our own heads. There's nothing wrong with us, right? It's that we are in the world of busy humans and we don't sometimes stop. This takes 20 seconds to go in here and use this, but we need to stop and say, okay, I'm not going to be talking to myself right now. I'm going to talk to another human being who might need to be approached differently than me. So I'm going to use Cloverleaf for 20 seconds to prepare for this conversation. Because what did it take you to type that sentence in there and read it? Nothing. A small shift in one conversation can have a giant outcome. Okay. Log into Cloverleaf. Don't just use the emails. Okay. Now, if you want long-term, if you want to use the emails because you want long-term benefits of managing up, use coaching focus to consider, right? You want to coaching focus is to consider. Think about the pattern underneath the conversation, not just the moment itself. Remember when I asked you, oh, I don't want to be too direct, or I don't want to come off as this, or I don't know how I'm going to say it, right? What shows up more often? What are you trying to solve for in the long term? I need to build more trust. I need to know how to communicate with them. I need to not make sure I don't get bulldozed over. I need to make sure I get heard. You have to think about what you're trying to solve for in the long term. Okay, so because of that, I want you to think about coaching focus. So think about the pattern underneath the conversation. Okay. That's why you might want to use coaching focus. So think about the emails that you get every day in your inbox. So you can now use coaching focus. If you use coaching focus and you need to work with your manager better, okay, you need to focus on that relationship, you can go in here, right? Here are some coaching focuses you might want to consider. So what coaching focus does is it customizes the coaching tips you get in your email based on a goal that you're now setting. So I want to I want to work through disagreements with my manager without avoiding the issue or damaging alignment. So let's say you're trying to work through, maybe you're going through some challenging times with your manager. So I'm going to pick this. Actually, no, I'm going to pick this one. I want to adjust my communication style to better match how my manager processes his information and makes decisions. This is important because I want to be aligned, right? So I'm going to copy this. Okay, so I'm going to pick a coaching focus. And let's say Tariq was my manager. I want to adjust my communication style to better manage to better match how Tariq processes information and makes decisions in for the next 6 weeks. So let's say you're working on a project with your manager and you have to be in lockstep with them. What you're going to get is coaching tips about you and that person for the next 6 weeks. Okay. And it's going to help you with that. Okay. So now I'm going to create the coaching focus. And it's going to ask me a few questions in a minute. So when communicating with Tariq, which of these friction points show up? Well, Tariq pushes back and asks a lot of questions and I want to move on. Okay. My communication feels too high level. That feels like it. What's the biggest thing making this adjustment hard? I'm not sure what style differences versus disagreement on substances. That's what it is. 6 weeks from now, which of these would signal real progress? Our conversations feel less like I'm pushing and more like we're in sync. I can anticipate what Tariq needs. That's good. That would be great. And how often? I want a couple times a week. I don't want it every day. A couple times a week, I want coaching tips on this. Okay. So now what the system is doing, it's building a bank of coaching tips about me and Tariq and maybe some other team members to help me align my communication style. Okay. So now instead of just getting, sort of random coaching tips, I'm going to get specific coaching tips about this because maybe I'm about to embark on a team project and I want to align more with Tariq. Okay. So I'm showing you that, and you have some examples in here of different coaching focuses that you could put in your coaching focus to help you with this person that you just did your discover about. So don't stop at discover, go in and set a coaching focus, go look at these, go set a coaching focus for yourself. Okay. Now, how many of you, yes, yes, you can have more than one coaching focus running at the same time. You can tell Cloverleaf when to send each focus as well. Okay. So in the chat, if you have used this new coaching focus, I want you to let me know if you've used it. Let me know in the chat if you've used this new coaching focus already. Is anybody already using this? Okay, good. Travis has used it. Great. Yes. Andrea. Yes. Georgia. Okay, good. Yes. Carson. Excellent. A few of you are using it. Awesome. Okay, good. So if you've not been using it, this is an opportunity to use it and pick one of these, or you can make your own to help you with the person that you just did your discover search on. So don't stop at the one discover prompt. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So now I want you to consider feedback. Woo, scary feedback. We love anonymous feedback, right? Because it's so much easier, right? So think about one piece of input you'd like to request from the same person that you just did the Discover piece on. That would help support the coaching focus. So I want you to use this section to reflect on three things. What needs to be said, right? What are you concerned about? What's the request, right? What's happening, right? Then what could make it hard to hear, right? Because you're going to be requesting the feedback, right? Is there something, is the timing, what's happening right now? What level of detail, what level of directness could make even what they would send back to you more difficult to actually digest, right? What would help it land better? What would make whatever they say to you clearer? What would actually make it beneficial for you and easier, right? For this specific person here. So all of these are in your resource. So you're going to be asking them for feedback. Okay. So if you just need general feedback from them, you could ask something like, what's one thing I could do differently to make working with you easier? What would make me more effective in supporting your priorities? What's one thing you need more consistently from me? Right? You could just need general feedback. Maybe you need clarity and expectations. Where am I most aligned with your expectations, or where am I missing them? What does stronger performance look like from me in this role? What should I clarify sooner when priorities or ownership feels unclear? Maybe it's communication where things break down. How can I communicate updates in a way that works better for you? Do you want more detail from me or more direct summaries? What helps you feel informed and confident in my progress? Okay. So you're going to see, right? There's a lot of these. Okay. There's a lot of these different feedback questions. Okay. So we've got a bunch of them here. Growth and development. Maybe you want to get feedback on your own growth. Maybe there's something that happened, right? Is there anything I would do differently next time to handle the situation with so-and-so better, right? Maybe there's more direct questions. What pattern should I change before XYZ becomes a bigger issue, okay? So to do that, to ask for feedback, we know how this works, right? You create a feedback request. So you would create a feedback request for yourself. Let's say Jordan was your manager. Okay. And then you would basically take one of these questions right here. You could ask more than one, by the way. You don't have to ask just one. Okay. And you would ask a question right here. Right. Now, if you did want to ask another question, you could, but I'm just going to ask one for right now. Okay. Now, when I create this feedback request, what happens is if the person has it integrated with Slack or Teams, they'll get a notification, or they'll also get an email. Okay. And so they'll get that feedback request. And then what happens is it'll show up right here. And so then when they go to give feedback, they'll, for example, what changes would make our team meetings or communications more effective for you? Well, it would be great. This is what happens when they get the request. It would be great if we had the opportunity to weigh in on and add to agendas beforehand, a few days beforehand. Okay, now it says try adding a specific examples to help Jordan understand the context. So what happens is your manager is going to be guided by a feedback coach, which is informed by your assessment results, right? This would help. Sorry, I don't know why that's happening. This would help with visibility and preparedness. Is this something you would be open to providing? Jordan values precise, actionable steps. This matches Jordan's preferences. So it says detailed enough to help. If it was emailed to everyone and in a shared document that we all could see, then this would help us all be more organized. Okay. Okay, so it's letting me know that I hit all the benchmarks. Okay. And then it also gives you an AI summary. Okay. Concrete steps. Okay. And I could send that. I could replace it if I wanted, or I could submit the feedback that I sent. So I want you to think about what piece of feedback you really need from your manager or from the person, from the manager or the person that you did the same discover question about. And I would encourage you to pick one of the questions from this specific list and request feedback from them. So what we want to do now is make today count. So here's what I'm going to before the webinar ends, what I want you to do is to draft a sentence you could actually use in your next conversation. And so there's actually some suggestions in the resource, right? So if you need more clarity, if you need to raise a concern, if you need feedback, if you need to reset expectations, there's actually some helpful conversation starters here. Okay. I want to share something early so we can work through it before it becomes a bigger issue. So I do a lot of communication training. So I've put some of the ones that I train people to use in here. So you could pick one of these that could help you. And then pick an action you're going to take within the next 48 hours, right? So use Discover before your next one-on-one. Set a coaching goal for one manager relationship or a coaching focus. Use feedback to prepare for a tough conversation. Review your SMART prompts before an important meeting. So your SMART prompts are actually right here. Okay. They're actually right here. Okay. Or apply one communication adjustment with your manager. So pick one of these things for yourself. I'm not going to police it. We're not following you around in your workplace, but you know exactly what to do here. That's going to make a difference for you.